All right. Hello, 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 everyone. I am Rosalind Brown of Your Wealth Guidance, where we help Black women create their financial independence map and identify the tools for success so you can live life on your own terms. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss another speaker in the future. This topic is kind of right on time. I was laying in bed last night and they were saying that there was another organization that was doing a round of layoffs. And so we're in that season where we're seeing whether it be layoffs, whether it be the return to work, but we definitely see a number of people who are ready to switch and make a change in terms of their career. And so, what better way to prepare and spend this kind of downtime as we're in the midst of the holidays than to do that search and to do it as efficiently as possible? Because the one thing we're not getting more of is time. So we have Meredith Hurston with us. She is a native of Flint, Michigan, and resides in Baltimore, Maryland. She is multi-passionate and merges her healthcare profession with the innovative world of artificial intelligence. Her journey with AI began 2 years back when she realized machine learning's capability to automate her work tasks. This sparked her interest in natural learning processing for text classification. Meredith's artistic spirit found a new avenue for expression when she discovered the power of AI tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney. These tools became instrumental in writing tasks from drafting succinct reports to generating creative content. And the thrill of AI assisted writing matched her excitement for creating unique images in Midjourney, ultimately transferring her creative output. And so this is a great opportunity for us to kind of chat and go through and talk about some of the different services and resources that she has as well. But be sure to drop your questions in the chat if you have any particular questions. But I think the first thing just to say, okay, what exactly is, I think people, have heard AI. They're like, I kind of know what it is. I think there are some people that are a bit scared of AI as well. So they're like, I don't know if I should be messing in this. So what exactly is it? And especially when we talk about the difference between like a chat GPT versus Midjourney, because that's when I was like, hold on, let me Google that one. Um, so get us so we know the basics.
Okay. So, hi, Rosalind. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. So, yes, the question is, what are the basics of AI? So, I would say to really get your first foray into AI, I would use a tool like ChatGPT or even Bing Chat, because I think a lot of people are familiar with the Microsoft suite of tools. And I haven't used Bing Chat really, but from my understanding, Bing Chat is kind of like native in the Microsoft browsers. And I use Microsoft products like PC and stuff at work, but they don't really have our Bing Chat turned on. I guess it's like a corporate thing. So I've been using ChatGPT since its inception. And they're coming up on, I think their 1 year anniversary, like in about 10 days or so. I think it dropped like November 30th of last year. And I've been using it ever since it went live because I kept hearing about it before it went live. I'm like, what is all this buzz about? And so when I first got on it, I was like, well, I don't really know what this is gonna do. But then a few months went by and I kept going back to it. I was like, oh, I see what it does now. And it's a game changer. But basically, my opinion, ChatGPT is like the cure for writer's block. It can help you with any and everything. And I feel as though the question more so is what can AI do? Because AI can help you in pretty much any profession to do a variety of tasks. And the technical side of it, I guess, is they're all built on what's called large language models. Like all the different tools all have different large language models. And a lot of the companies won't tell you exactly what documentation they use to create their models, but we know that ChatGPT basically was built off of the internet. Whatever is publicly available on the internet, they basically scraped it. And even I think some things they weren't supposed to scrape, I think they put into their language model and they use it. So ChatGPT is what's referred to as a chatbot. So you basically can just ask it questions and it will respond to you in a sensical way. most of the time. It does hallucinate occasionally, but it responds to you in a way that makes sense, and it's usually pretty spot on, I would say 95% of the time, maybe a little more.
And I think that's a good point because there's so many different uses. And so, we'll talk about a couple of the uses today, but so many different uses. And I had someone say, wait, I never even thought about using it to search for a job.
Mhm.
And so, as you're thinking about it, you're thinking or worried about, is it going to make me sound like a computer? How do you make sure that using this resource, using this tool, is actually gonna be useful and it doesn't make you sound like, some robot out there? I think that's probably one of the things that people are thinking.
That's that's the biggest, like, hesitation and reservation that people have. They're like, "It just sounds so robotic." But the trick to it is that you have to prime it. So, you have to tell it a little bit about you. You don't have to give it, like, your whole life story, but you have to give it a little bit of information about you, and that's what is going to help it sound much more like you and much less robotic. And we know, like, now we know, like, being almost a year into this thing, there's, like, certain words that ChatGPT will use, like unleash, unveil, the little fireball emoji and the rocket emoji. Like, when you see that stuff, you're like, "Okay, yeah, that's some ChatGPT copy," because you can just kinda tell it looks robotic, and we just know kind of that that's the look and feel of it now. But when you really, give it details about you and ask more pointed questions and keep going deeper, you really get something that you can work with that doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't sound robotic at all.
And I think so your point, and I think this is a big one, is so you can build up on it. So it's not just asking one particular question and saying, "Hey, please give me the answer to this," or "Please look this up," or "Please, create this piece of information or this piece of content." How are you building up on those different pieces as you go through?
And I like to tell people that because ChatGPT is basically a robot, it's a computer. It doesn't have a personality. It doesn't get tired. It doesn't want to punch out and go home. It's not going to get annoyed with you. You can ask it to revise as many times as you want. You can say, "Hey, that's really missing the mark for me. I don't like this. Can you help me tweak it to sound more like this?" And that you can just keep forever. You can go back forever and ever. I mean, you might get far if you do that too many times, you might get far away from what you originally, set out for. But you can keep asking it to tweak and revise based on your, preferences. Like, if you're writing sales copy, you could say, "This sounds too salesy. Can we, tone it down a little bit?" And it'll, revise and iterate, and you can keep going. And that would you could do the same when you're rewriting a resume. Like, if it writes a cover letter for you, and you're just like, "Well, this is a flat out lie," or "That's not true," because it can embellish and make up things if you don't give it enough information because it's trying to do a good job. So if it knows it needs to write a letter and you're just like, "Hey, write me a cover letter," and you don't give it any information about who you are and why you think you're a good fit for the job, it may, add a couple details or two that are not true. And you just go back and say, "Hey, this isn't exactly true. Let's say this instead of that." And it'll, rewrite that paragraph or the whole letter for you.
So walk us through that process, because most people are like, "Wait, it can write my resume, it can write the cover letter." So, you go online and you find the perfect opportunity that you're like, "Yes, I'm ready to quit my job right now for this." So if you find that opportunity, how do you go from job listing to resume to cover letter to the point where it's good where you can submit it? What are the steps that someone should take?
So, and forgive me because I'm like a visual style teacher. So I can try to walk through the steps. I usually like to log into my chat GPT and, like, have a job open on the side and bring it over into and show people.
Yeah,
But I would say,
you can present.
you wanna do that? Okay, let me bring up chat GPT because I did this a few weeks ago. I did a 12-week live stream where I was talking to people about, using it to job search. I wonder if I can find that chat. That might be a quicker use of our time if I can find that chat and just kind of run through what we did, because basically I found a job. So I'm a clinical lab scientist by trade. That's what I went to school for, where we test blood and, body fluids and things like that. And I'm no longer, I don't work on the bench anymore, but I work in quality. But I was looking at a job, just to kind of walk people through the process of how you would use ChatGPT to apply for a job. Let me see, can I find it? Um, I may not be able to find it, but I can pull up. Oh, yes, I here it is. Tailoring a resume for your job. So, okay, let me share.
Because this is one of those things that if you're looking for something, and especially I've seen so many things, and people are like, you should be applying for 100 jobs a week. And it's like 100 jobs a week. Like, how the heck do you tweak all these 100 jobs a week?
Right, because you have to the advice is that you need to tailor your resume, for
Yeah,
each job, and so that could be overwhelming and almost impossible unless you, like, hire a team of people to do that for you, or if you're currently unemployed, you might have time to do it, but if you're employed and trying to look for something new, yeah, that can be, beyond most people's capacity.
yeah.
So so this is inside ChatGPT. So I start out by giving some instructions. So you'll usually want to tell ChatGPT like what you want it to do, give it a role to play. So I start out and I try to talk to my chatbots nice. So I'm like, please act as a seasoned professional career coach that works with clients on resume and applying for jobs. I need to update my resume for a position that I found that I want to apply for. If I provide you with the job description and my resume, can you help me tailor my resume to the job description? And so it responds, of course, I would be happy to help. So basically, I just copied and pasted the job description from the posting on their website, that includes like the summary of the position, the duties and responsibilities, minimum qualifications, all of that stuff, basically the contents of the job posting. So ChatGPT responds and says, "Thank you for sharing the job description. Please provide your current resume so I can help you tailor it to best match the requirements and responsibilities for the job description, at MedStar Health." So I basically provide ChatGPT with my resume. I just copied it from a PDF file that I had, and it includes my skill set, my what do you call that? Your summary statement at the top, my previous job history. So that's basically what all this content is here in my educational background and whatnot. So it says, all right, with the provided information, I'll help you tailor your resume to highlight relevant skills. And it gave me a revision. So basically, it says highly skilled and experienced medical lab scientist with over 15 years, expertise in data analysis, quality metrics, patient safety, proven track record in improving processes, yada yada. So I read it to ensure that it was accurate and that it wasn't hallucinating or anything of the sort. And so it sounded good to me. I don't think I needed to make any tweaks. Now, this wasn't a real job that I was applying for, but it was me. It didn't go off the rails and say anything wild and crazy. And so these are the revisions. So you can basically just plug and play this into, copy and paste this into your resume and make whatever tweaks you want to if needed. Um, so it gave me some tips, and this was like unsolicited. It's like use action word or action verbs, tailor your key skills, highlight your experiences, and always proofread for typos and grammar. Um, I said, "Thank you. Can you help me with the cover letter for this role that touches on why I'm interested in going back to the bench after working in quality for so long?" Because I was just trying to come up with the scenario. And that's true. I haven't worked on the bench since the end of 2009, basically. I think I worked on the bench for a year at a part-time job. But I was just asking it, what additional information do you need from me to do a good job with this cover letter? So I try to check in with it from time to time, but then I also ask it for advice. And ChatGPT is not a mental health therapist by any stretch of the imagination, but I consult it often, for advice about a variety of things. And I mean, you have to measure whatever advice it gives you against your own conscience and what you know to be right and wrong, true, false, or whatever. But it gives very good advice. It's never told me anything crazy. So I highly recommend to, ask it, what do you need any additional information? How can I improve, what I have? Because for the most part, artificial intelligence, us humans don't like to hear it, but it is kind of smarter than us.
Just the ability just to have a better memory than us. I think that's the
Yes,
biggest, like, all the things of last names and people and quotes and all those kind of things that you can't necessarily put together all the time, and like you said, the writer's block.
right.
Um, this
So,
is a good comment in the chat. Somebody even says, "Not looking for a job, but always looking for a nice side hustle." And so we are gonna touch on that too, because yes, if you wanna find a job, this is great information to get you there. But we'll do a pivot in a second and talk a little bit about like building and growing a business using those same tools. And so I was like, there's nothing that you can't do here. So this is where it's like, learn how, the how of it. It doesn't matter how great a tool is if you don't actually have the information of how to use it. So I really like the prompts and going back and forth and so forth. That's a really good, just knowing what to ask and how to ask it.
yeah, that's the prompting is really important, and like I said, that's what helps it keep from sounding so generic and robotic because you infuse a little bit of your personality into the output that it's giving you. And if it just, if it's something that you don't like or it doesn't resonate or is not true or doesn't track or whatever, you can always ask it to revise and say, "Hey, this doesn't sound exactly like me. I tend to, you know, like even if it's something like, well, I'm Christian, I don't want to discuss magic or, something like that, it will tweak and it'll tell you, I'm not a Christian. I don't adopt any sort of religious philosophy, but I can help you write in that style and tone. So I guess those are the two key words that I would suggest to people is to give ChatGPT a style and tone when you're interacting with it and asking questions and getting it to write for you.
I think that's a really good point. And you do provide some of those prompts and so forth in terms of some of the tools that you provide for people as well. Is
Mhm.
that some of the prompts that you do in your Facebook group, but also with your free tool?
Yes. So, well, in my free tool, I have a guide that helps you get started with using ChatGPT and other AI tools. And I want to circle back on Midjourney because I forgot to talk to you about Midjourney really quick. But yes, I help people understand like how they should be prompting the AI to get the best results from it.
Perfect. Yeah. And I'll drop the link for that tool in the chat too. So you'll be able to tap into that and get some of those resources. But yes, tell us about Midjourney because I was like, wait.
What is Midjourney? So,
Yeah,
before I
we'll
close
learn.
out of ChatGPT, so it basically, helped me write the cover letter, and it talked about, my reason for transition and all of that. So I didn't apply for this job, but I was able to, get a decent cover letter and then put it in the, professional business letter format and everything for me. So in theory, if everything looks okay, you can just copy and paste this into your Word document.
Perfect.
Um,
That's so easy because that means you could apply for like 5 or 6 jobs in an hour just by copy, paste, and then it's spitting out the information that you need to apply, apply, apply.
right, yeah, it's much more efficient than just doing it, on your own for sure, or sending like a generic copy. I'm sorry, my dog is having a fit. Than just using like a generic, templated cover letter. This is to me is much more opportunity to kind of tailor it per role.
Oh, I love that because I mean, you went through that in like less than 10 minutes. So if someone had the prompts and they're like, okay, here's the prompt, here is the job description, here is my resume, and then they just need a little bit of time to read through it. I mean, you probably still can't get to 100 a week unless you're like boom, 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 and you got a few hours to do it, but you could take an hour a night and probably get through at least, 5. And so 5 days a week, that's 25. That's way more than a lot of people are able to do. And if it's customized for the job, it probably increases your chances of getting that call back.
Right, absolutely. I would think so. I'm sorry. I hope my dog isn't too obnoxious. So, Midjourney is a art generation tool. So, ChatGPT is like for text, but they recently introduced what's called Dolly 3, which is a art generator inside of ChatGPT 2. But that is like new on the scene. I would say maybe in the last 6 weeks. I can't remember when Dolly 3 dropped, but maybe like within the last 6 weeks or so. But prior to ChatGPT bringing in Dolly 3, Midjourney has been around since about a year ago. I think I started first playing around in early November of last year with Midjourney. Um, and you can create all sorts of images in there. It's a paid product. ChatGPT is free and paid. You can create a free ChatGPT account, like if you just go to chatgpt.com. They do have an upgraded version, which is what I use and what I recommend to people, specifically if you're going to be job hunting or a frequent user. I do recommend the upgrade. It's the outputs are a little bit more robust. Um, in terms of what you get for your outputs and in the conversations and being able to generate images. I don't think you're able to generate images in the free version of ChatGPT. But Midjourney is a strictly paid product. They start at $10 a month and they kind of limit what you can do. But you can go in there and create stock photos. Um, there's so many things, like, whatever you kinda can think of in your mind, like, you can try to create it in Midjourney. You just prompt it and tell it what you're looking for, and, hit generate, and it'll start creating images, and you can kinda tweak from there to get, something more closely aligned to what you're envisioning, but it's gotten better over time, like, with these products, like, artificial intelligence is constantly like improving and iterating. I think is learning off of what people are doing, now. So the next generation of the product is a little bit, more improved. So the images are a little sharper now, better quality, it looks better, better pixelation. Or it's not as pixelated. It looks a lot better than what it looked like a year ago. I just did a comparison of some images. I ran the same, pretty much the same prompt in Midjourney, and it's like night and day. It has improved so much, like within a year. So pretty fascinating, and it's only getting better. So I feel like AI is kind of old. I feel like it's been around. Actually, I don't know how long it's been around. I know that there are some classes that Stanford teaches since like the mid 2000s, since maybe around like 2011, 2012. Um, but it's definitely become more mainstream now, but I still feel like it's still in its infancy because a lot of people have not adopted it. They don't understand it. They're afraid of it. Or like, I don't want to tell it my business, and and people are still resistant. But I really challenge people to recognize that AI isn't going to go away. And I feel like it's going to be integrated in a lot of workflows, like with, people's businesses and jobs. So I definitely think we should try to learn to understand and how to interact with it in a way that feels comfortable for you.
Now, what in terms of Midjourney? So that's something that you're paying for. So when would you be making these photos? Is it the business owners that are trying to create content? Is it, you're a graphic designer? Is it the everyday person? Would they actually use Midjourney or would they more so stick to ChatGPT?
Um, I feel like business owners and graphic designers and content creators use it for sure. The everyday person though, like if you're a crafter or something like that, I feel like there are a lot of crafters that use Midjourney and art creation tools. Because a lot of times when you think about something you want to make or an idea you have, you may not be able to find it. So you can go make your own. Like if you
Oh,
can dream
wow.
it, if you can envision it in your mind, you probably can get the AI to make it for you if you can articulate what it is that you want.
Oh, goodness. That's those Instagram photos where you're like, that's not real. Like, why is it that blue?
Yeah, and some of the dead giveaways, like with AI generated art, it is getting better, but like the fingers and stuff, sometimes it'll have like, really warped looking fingers or like 8 fingers. And if you don't know how to clean that stuff up, using Photoshop or, some other tool, then yeah, some of it looks pretty bad. But it's getting better. We've come a long way because I think the first AI art generator I used was it's called Creative Spark by or is that what is it called? Creative Fabrica Spark, I think is what it was called. It was bad. It was bad. And that's how I got into Midjourney because I kept dinking around on Creative Fabrica and I'm like, yeah, this is not really, it's not giving what it's supposed to give. And so I was I was on YouTube and I'm like, okay, so I hear these people talking about Midjourney, and that kind of like opened the door for me because that was where I first got exposed to Discord. And I feel like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but Discord is becoming a little more mainstream. Like if you follow a lot of YouTubers, they may have like a Discord channel or something that you can interact with their community on because YouTube is a little bit challenging in terms of building community. And so that's how I first kind of got familiar with Discord, and Midjourney lives in Discord. And I think they're trying to get it off of Discord now and get it onto their own website, but it at the present moment, it still lives in Discord. So that's a little bit of a getting people to understand, the commands and stuff that you use to generate the art. But once you get the hang of it, it's not hard at all.
Oh, I love that. And that's like a great transition in terms of, you've given us a little bit to get started. So you have the prompt when you find the job description, insert job description, and you're, talk real nice to your chat GPT friend and talk through the steps of who you are and how you want to portray yourself and so forth. But if you had, like not before 10, she talks about she's not looking for a new job, but maybe a side hustle. So if you have the side hustle in your mind and you're like, maybe I want to start doing X, Y, or Z, how would you use Chat GPT to either build it out or create it or find new clients or engage clients? What would you be able to do, or kind of what would those prompts look like, and how would that process be different?
So ChatGPT is like my personal assistant. I go to it for everything, like every day. And if you are trying to build out like a side hustle, I would just go into ChatGPT and literally say, hey, I'm looking to, generate some income like as a side hustle in addition to my main job. I want to make $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month. These are the things that I'm good at. What questions do you need me to answer in order to help me decide on a good side hustle for me that would be lucrative and there's going to be the least amount of time and make the most amount of money? I would ask something like that, and see what it says. And like you would have to respond kind of with your interests, the skill sets that you have, and kind of see where you land with that. But some of the things, like I go over this in the link that you provided, the reclaimitai.com/earn with AI, is 20 different ways that you can use ChatGPT to help you create money. So you can create like images for people. If it's like business owners that need stock photos, they need mock-ups, all sorts of stuff. If they need clip art, there's so many different things that you can do with ChatGPT. And there's other AI generators as well that you can get into that are a little bit more technical, like Stable Diffusion, Playground AI, Leonardo. There's a whole bunch of um, different AI art generators, but that's one idea, is that you can create stock images, you can create wallpaper, you can create backgrounds for people. There's so many things that you can create in terms of imagery. You can use it to create social media posts and content for people. Like one of the new handy features, I don't know how many people in your audience are Canva users, but I think it's in Canva Pro. I've had Canva Pro for so long. I don't
Mhm.
know. I haven't used the free version of Canva just because I've had Canva Pro probably for probably 10 years, a long, maybe not 10 years, but a good 8. It's been a long time. But they have what's called bulk create. So you could actually create um, like 30 social media posts, 50 social media posts in less than 15 minutes. You can go into ChatGPT and say, "Hey, um, give me some affirmations to help people, stay inspired or, feel loved or whatever, your stick is with your business. Create content around those things. Like if you have a theme, for Tuesdays, like if it's Tech Talk Tuesdays or Wind Down Wednesdays or whatever, you can ask ChatGPT to help you, give me 5 ideas for Wind Down Wednesday, help me create social media captions. And because you don't want to have too much content, like if you're creating like a little, like a graphic or something, you don't want it just kind of the whole like 50 words on it. So just ask it to give you some tweets because Twitter is 140 characters, so it's going to give you something short and concise, something cute that you could put, on your little, social post for the day. And you could do 50 of those in like 15 minutes. Maybe
Oh my
probably
God.
not even 15 minutes using the bulk create feature. It's kind of mind-boggling because you take what you get out of ChatGPT. You can ask ChatGPT to give you, 20 social media posts. Once it gives you the posts and you like them, you ask it to put it in a table for you. ChatGPT will put it in a table. You copy and paste it into a Google Sheet. You take that Google Sheet over to Canva, put it through bulk create, and you create your content and you're done. And you can sell that to somebody for whatever amount you find valuable or that the person finds valuable. If it's $50, if it's $100, however much it is, you can create content. So that's one um, way that you can, create content for people. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. And they'll be wowed, especially if it's a business owner that, is short on time or they don't like social media, don't have time for it or whatever. You send them, 50 graphics for the month. They're like, oh my God, thank you. You can do ghostwriting. You can help people
Wow.
write grants because you can actually import documents into ChatGPT. So you could take like a PDF document if you have like a RFP or a grant or something like that, and you can give it to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, can you help me write a proposal that's going to win this grant?"
Oh wow.
What all do I need to include in this, grant proposal to be sure that I win? How can I stand out from the other, applicants or whatever? Those are the kind of questions, you can ask ChatGPT, and it's nothing, grimy or sleazy about that. You're just asking questions like how to be competitive. It's not really much different than what we would do if we were in college or, trying to get a good grade in class with our assignment or impress our boss and do a good job at work. How can you maintain a competitive edge? Those are the types of questions that you ask ChatGPT. This is my task. How can you help me maintain a competitive edge? How can I shine above, all the other, everybody else in my response or whatever, and see what you get.
And Tracy makes a good point. She said, "Thank you for this." She's getting over her fear of AI. And so I know Tracy's not, alone. People are thinking, I don't want to give these people all my information. If I give them all their information, they're going to take my resume, they're going to clone me, all those kind of things. How best to help someone get over that either fear of AI or, what are some good baby steps to just get started, to just kind of see what it feels like, opposed to doing like a whole grant. Do the grant.
Right.
But before that, just to kind of get your toe wet, what would you say tonight? So after this, finish watching this. After this, they're gonna go and they're gonna, figure out what are some of the steps that they can start. So they say, this isn't so bad. I don't feel overwhelmed with this. What would those steps be for those beginners that are like, I don't know about this?
So I would say as a initial first query that you could give ChatGPT and not have to provide it a whole bunch of information. Like so when you create your account, like you're gonna have to use like your Gmail or Yahoo Mail or whatever, email you use. So it's gonna kind of know who you are as it pertains to, your email address. But anything else you share with it is really kind of up to you. So one like, I guess people or introductory foray I give people to use ChatGPT is to say, I'm a quality specialist for a laboratory. So I will say, I'm a quality specialist with, 15 years of experience. What are 15 ways I could use ChatGPT to help me work smarter, not harder?
Oh, wow.
So you want to go in and just tell it what you do. I'm an attorney. I would probably say, I'm a criminal defense attorney, or I'm a, tax attorney, or give it a little bit of information, like give it some sort of, detail about you, and then ask it, what are 15 ways you can help me work smarter, not harder? That's the first thing that I would ask ChatGPT and see where you
Right.
go from there. And it's probably gonna blow your mind because as soon as you press the little right arrow button on ChatGPT, like whatever it spits out is like that. It's like done in 5 seconds. Or if it's giving you a long response, you sitting there looking like, "Oh my god." It's like still going like, "Oh my god." And it said that? Wow. That's usually people's first reaction.
So I love that because it's like, how many ways, tell me some ways I can work smarter rather than harder. Or even when you said list some of those side hustles. So then after it spits out this list of 15, you could then ask it, help me get started with one. So one might be, I don't know, learn this or organize this or whatever. So you can tell it to start to prioritize those things. You can kind of build up on that list that it gives you so it just doesn't kind of stop there.
Yeah. So, two things I don't want to forget to share. So, when you create your account, I definitely recommend using a personal email. That's in the guide that I give you guys if you're interested in downloading that. But I recommend using your personal email because you always want to take your Chat GPT history with you. Because jobs, can be transient. So I wouldn't use my work email to create my Chat GPT account. And when you start conversing with Chat GPT, um, you want to keep your conversations on task. So you start one conversation and ask it, what are 15 ways you can help me? You can continue in that conversation based off of its response. You can continue to dive into all those 15 ways or pick out, one or two to explore a little bit further. You could just say, tell me more about that. How can you help me with that? What is the practical application of, thing number 3 that you said? That really sounds interesting. That's what I need. Let's, tell me more about that. Um if you wanna ask it, like, how to start your garden, when is the best time to start your garden because I live in Colorado, you would wanna create a new chat for that because that's a whole different ball of wax, and you don't wanna confuse that other conversation you were having about 15 ways it could help you. So each kind of separate thing you wanna have in its own chat. But, I mean, you can start a new chat whenever you want, but, like, that 15 questions chat, you've kinda seasoned that topic. You've given ChatGPT, a place to start, and so you can revisit that conversation whenever you're ready. You can always revisit it to ask more questions. Like, you can come back 2 weeks later and say, "Hey, let's talk about, thing number 4 that you mentioned up thread about, um, helping me with Excel spreadsheets. Let's talk about that. I wanna talk about that now." And it's gonna remember. It has, like, the memory, from that conversation. But if you start a new chat and say, "Hey, you told me about you could help me with Excel a couple of weeks ago," it's not going to remember that. You can ask it, pertinent questions about Excel in a new chat, but it's not going to remember what it told you in your initial chat. You have to stay in that conversation. I hope that makes sense to people and it's helpful.
So, kind of going back to that or staying on that thought. So when you were going back to and you're creating, so it created your resume and so forth. So now you apply for the job, and let's say 3 weeks later, these people are like, oh, she's amazing. Now I want her to come back in for an interview. Can you go back to that same chat and say, please give me some interview questions I should be prepared for? Or,
Absolutely.
please write a thank you letter for this company or something like that. Can you stay in that world, but come back to it weeks later? So it will remember weeks later if you've had that conversation?
Absolutely. And I mean, if you feel like it's been a while or you aren't sure, you can go back to that conversation and say, "Hey, I had this job interview. Do you remember this conversation? I want you to help me write a thank you note, or can you help me prepare for this, job? Do you remember what this job was?"
Oh, I like that.
And
Okay.
see what it says. I mean, if it gives you some off the rails answer, then that's probably not good, but it usually remembers. But you can always check back with it, like say, "Hey, do you still recall, or what did you say about, XYZ?" Just to kind of check that it recalls. And you can like redirect it and refocus it, but you can't go into a new chat and ask it about something from a previous chat.
Remember what I said last week or something.
Mm, yeah.
But that makes sense. So, is there a way to organize those conversations? Because so if, today I ask, give me 4 recipes for X, and then I say, help me with a job, and then the next day I want all these prompts. Can I organize it to say, organize all the times I asked for a recipe versus all the times that I did a job search? Okay.
No, so that's one of the, I guess, not strong suits of ChatGPT at the moment, and I mean, they're, like, over there trying to solve world hunger. I don't know why they don't have searches, and ways to organize it. I will say ChatGPT does have a phone app. I have, iPhone, and they do have Apple and Android apps. On the app, search is available, but on the web application, it's not. So they have like so I use Chrome browser, so they have a couple different like extensions that you could use. They don't really play that well with ChatGPT. They kind of interfere. So there's no really solid solution that I recommend in terms of like the web browser version of ChatGPT in terms of like searching and organization. Unfortunately, that's really one of the disadvantages of using the web application, which is where I usually am. But on the phone app, you can search your conversations, which I find to be very helpful.
Oh, nice. So that's a good one. Because that was the question. That was the question in the chat. So we went ahead and answered that. And I think
Not me
that's a
too.
good
Yep.
one because I guess even if you are having issues and you can't find it on the web, maybe you should switch over to your phone and see if you can find that conversation. And then either is it helpful if you start over and then start over with some of the prompts you were doing before? So if you're like, wait, you don't understand the conversation we had 2 weeks ago, should you start over with those prompts that you had from 2 weeks ago and kind of start the conversation over and get things rolling again? Is that helpful?
Yes, you can just like refresh it. You can either stay in that same chat and say, "Hey, we were talking about, XYZ. Do you remember?" Or if it just kind of seems to not be with it, I would just start a new conversation. And you can either use those same prompts or you can just, go from scratch. "Hey, this is what I need your help with today. This is a little bit of the background. This is what I'm trying to accomplish. What you got for me?"
And I know that's probably like the hardest thing is the prompts. It's like, okay, I don't know what to ask. I don't know how to ask. Or when you get the information, you're like, that's not quite right. So
And
trying
you
to
can
get
actually say that. You can just, say, "Hey, that's not quite right. I need you to revise this." And it may say, "Okay," and like, revising it on its own, or it might say, "How would you like for me to change it?" But it's always best to give it as much direct or some direction. I would say as much as possible, but sometimes people might go overboard, but give it to some direction. And you can get as elaborate as you want for the most part with, ChatGPT like instructions and interactions. But it's better to give it context than not, because if you don't give it context, it's definitely gonna sound robotic and unleash the power of ChatGPT on, blah, 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 and let's unveil and and you like, I don't talk like that."
And how do you make sure? Because I think one of the fears that people have, especially if they're either creating content or maybe it's creating a mailing for their mailing list or whatever it is the worry that I asked the same question that you asked, and now your followers are going to see the exact same things that my followers see. So if I say, give me 20 posts that say this, or summarize this option or create this cover letter off this, same thing, are we going to have the same document? What's the likelihood, or how do you prevent basically one copy after another? So I know people, especially I keep seeing in higher education and so forth, and people are writing essays and those kind of things. Like, how do you prevent just kind of copy and paste? Is Chat GPT giving me an original and giving you an original? Or are we just kind of getting the same output?
So, a few things. So, ChatGPT or OpenAI professes to not plagiarize. Um, they say, and kind of the nature of GPT stands for generative predictive text. So basically, the super technical way of how it works is it's predicting the next best word when it's writing. So it's always predicting the next best word based on what question is being asked. So it's not supposed to give people the same outputs. I don't know how true that is. I haven't really tested it, but you can run it through. There are a few different resources, and I need to compile a document with those links. But I know Quillbot is one that has a plagiarism checker. There are a few different like plagiarism checker tools out there, and there are some like AI checker tools out there that you can run your copy through, or like your chat GPT outputs through, to see if they are being picked up as artificial intelligence, whether it's like human written versus, AI written. They have like these different resources. I'll have to see if I can find the links to them. I don't really use them because I look through my outputs depending on, the task that I'm doing. I'll look through my outputs and I'll tweak it, to my own liking when I'm doing something professional or for business or whatever. But if you give it enough seasoning of you and your personality and the style and tone that you're looking for, you really shouldn't be sounding like anybody else.
See, I think that's the point. It's just understanding, and some of it is just understanding you. Have a funny tone or serious or
And you
metaphor.
can ask it. You can give ChatGPT writing examples, like if you've written blog posts or papers or even social media posts. Like if you have some prolific, 200 word social media post, put it in ChatGPT. Can you explain to me my style and tone in this message? And it may say, witty or verbose or professional. It'll give you like all of these different, adjectives and stuff that you can use to tell it, you can ask it, what is my style and tone? So then when you go to ask it questions and you want it to give you copy, say, please create a resume use or create a cover letter using this style and tone.
So that's the big thing, is knowing your style, knowing your tone. And I guess that's going to be different depending on what you're doing. Depending if you're doing a social media post versus a cover letter, you might not want to be as witty
Right.
comical. But at least being able to tweak that. Grammarly also does that. So that's another tool, I guess, especially as you're kind of understanding what that tone is and how to utilize that. And I think that's the point, is you may be sitting down for the day and saying, okay, I'm going to do these posts, or I'm going to send this article, or I'm going to create this content, or send 8 letters, or send X to eight prospects. And so you have all of your tools kind of lined up. So if you're starting in Chat GPT and then you go to Grammarly, or you go to the Quill bot that you had, and then you're going from piece to piece to piece, and you're like click click click, move move move, and it's almost without, I don't want to say without thinking, but you can definitely automate it a lot more, so you don't end up with that kind of writer's block, as you're like, I wrote a really good article, just 2 sentences, and now I needed to build out the rest. Or
Yeah, and I mean that you should never be stuck with ChatGPT because you can literally write a book with ChatGPT. Like you can start with asking it for an outline, hey, I want to write a book about X. Can you give me an outline? And it'll, you can say, I want to write a book that has 12 chapters and touch on 3 points in each of the chapters. Can you please help me write an outline? And it'll do it. And then you can go into, okay, let's talk about chapter one, point number one. These are
oh,
my thoughts. Help me, write the opening or, help me, but it'll write your book for you
And
with
I think
your
that's so
guidance.
sometimes as we're looking at what other people are accomplishing, like you said, you got into this as a way to more efficiently do your job, which means there's someone doing the exact same job as you and they're not using these tools. And they're like, how the hell is she getting so much done? Like, how is she finishing this? How is her turnaround quicker than mine? Those kind of things. And I think, as Tracy talks about, being a little scared to jump into the space, I think that's one of those things. It's, think about everyone has worked with someone who's like, they refuse to use the tools. They hardly want to send the email. They want to do this. Like they want to do the most antiquated way of doing things. And it's like, we could have finished this if we would have just did X, if
So
they
you
would have just put it in here. That kind
Stephanie Perry has learned me well. I am team do as little as possible
of
and work smarter, not harder. And yeah, I just there are so many things that ChatGPT can help you do. Just the most mundane tasks. Like you can just ask it. Um, One of the things that I have to do at my job is read like event reports, adverse event reports, and it's very monotonous. You can kind of get what is the right word for it? Like secondhand trauma. Like if you do it for a long time, like it's something that you probably should really only do like for 2 or 3 years at a time, and then you should move into doing something else. Because you
because
develop
you
that cynicism and like that secondhand trauma or whatever. But I've been doing this for a really long time and it's just like super monotonous. I'm like, I just wish that somebody else or something could categorize this for me, and so that's what I developed was a machine learning algorithm to like read those events and like categorize them. So that was like my first use of AI was to help me with that. And it was like I wrote like a Python program for it and everything. And at the time, I was not what I would consider to be a developer
but
at
that's
all.
huge, especially something that I mean, for that, that's one of those things that can wear on you for days and days. But sometimes it's just something that's exhausting. It's tired. It's the Monday report that you got to write up. It's the senior management update that you got to put together. And you use the same checklist of stuff, you use the same numbers. And now you need to do a whole write up and it goes to this person or this person. It might be a summary email of the team meeting or whatever. Like there's so many things that it's just like, can I check this off in another way? Can I
Mhm.
just
And one of
yeah
the challenges right now, like privacy and proprietary information and maintaining confidentiality is obviously a thing for most corporations. They don't want their information out on the public internet, um, being used to train ChatGPT and other, artificial intelligence, and rightfully so. Um, so we aren't still there with doing like some of the reports and things like that unless you're running like a local model of a ChatGPT like product. I wish that I could, do some of my reports and meeting minutes and stuff like that in ChatGPT. And I think we touched on this a little bit earlier, in terms of people having concerns with giving ChatGPT too much information. You can de-identify. Like I'm not sure if anybody picked up on it, but when I was sharing my screen with my cover letter and resume, I redacted like my phone number, my email address, and stuff like that from what I input into ChatGPT. I did that for a couple of reasons. I don't want that information going over into ChatGPT and being used to like train their model, but also, because we're on public internet, live on YouTube and things like that, I don't want people seeing my address and having my email address and phone number unless they, are subscribed to my mailing list. But you can redact certain information. And when you're interacting with ChatGPT, like if you're doing something for work, you can redact certain information from documents. Like if you're copy pasting something, you can give like a project a code word or a product a code word, or you can give it general information and not proprietary information and still kind of accomplish, the same thing.
I think that's a good point. It's like privacy is such a big thing now. And I think it's at one time we were given everything, we were sharing everything, and then there's those folks that overshare. And
Mhm.
then we're like, wait, I want to keep a little something to myself. So definitely I think that's a good point of just you can ask it for information without you giving. So you can have almost a one-sided relationship with ChatGPT where it's giving you a lot and you don't have to give it quite so much. So that's a really good point to make too. Now, you talked about the tool that you have, and so that link is in the chat, but you also have a Facebook group. And so tell us a little bit about your Facebook group and some of the tools and some of the training that you do there in the Facebook group.
So my Facebook group is newer, but it's called Easy AI Prompts. And the goal of that is I have a goal of I want to work with Gen Xers and, get us into this AI game and working smarter, not harder. So the group is where you can come and like if you want to create art, I share art prompts in there. I'm going to be sharing a lot more ChatGPT prompts in there too, in terms of how to talk to ChatGPT. I'll probably put together something about using ChatGPT for job searches, like what prompts you can use for that, like applying for jobs and your resume and cover letter and things like that. Um, but that's really the goal of the group. People can ask questions. I'll try to answer them as best as I can. And I'm going to be having some classes in the new year to dive a little bit more into how to use ChatGPT for work and business, as well as art classes, because that's I guess the thing that I love the most is creating art. Like I love ChatGPT, but I like creating art too. Like AI art is quite interesting.
And I like it because especially when you talk about when you can't quite find what you're looking for as a Black woman, when you're like a Black woman at a professional setting and it's like one Black woman at a table full of everybody else. And you're like, no,
Mm.
I want like us. But it's
And
see all of us.
it's starting to learn like our hairstyles, like locks and twist outs and braids and, afros and all the things. So it's really starting to learn us. I feel like there are quite a few um Black people getting into the space and, we're helping to train it. And that's, the other thing that I really want to impress upon people. Um we are still the minority, and when other people create things for us and don't if we aren't at the table or we're somehow excluded, then we aren't represented in the final product. So if you go to use it, it doesn't know anything about you because you haven't contributed to helping it be great. So that's why I kinda implore our people to really try to understand what artificial intelligence is, how it works, how you can contribute to, making it better, making it safe for everybody, and, doing good and not being a bad actor. So it's
Oh, I think
important
that's a
that
really good point. Is we can't be mad that it doesn't understand, the tone of a Black woman. And you're like, we wouldn't say that. Or especially as the sale prompts are coming out, all the, Black Fridays and stuff. And you're like, we wouldn't have said that. But
mm-mm,
we gotta make it. We gotta like make sure that that exists and make sure that we exist in all places.
'cause they
So
have everybody talking to us like Fashion Nova talks to its SMS,
like,
tech crew.
no more yes, girl, honey child. No, no, no. Like, no, we wouldn't
We
say
are
that.
not a monolith.
Exactly. I know we are like right against time. If you have any other questions, definitely drop those in the chat. The links to the Facebook group and the free FREE tool is in the chat too. So make sure you hop on that and take advantage of that opportunity because that has a lot, especially even if you're just trying to make some extra money. So maybe you're leaving your job, but maybe you're not, and you just want to make some extra money. So that is a great opportunity there. So Meredith, tell us some closing remarks, some things to get us on our way and feel more confident in our AI journey.
Closing remarks. Don't get left behind on the AI train. AI is here to stay, and it's still in its infancy. So I recommend getting on board now and trying to learn and understand it, because I feel like we have so much more runway to go, and I wouldn't want to see people be like a latecomer to the game. You're just kind of like, what's going on here? What is this? How does this work? Why? And get in on it now, because it's not going away. It's not a fad. And just get started. Like, go into ChatGPT, create an account, go into ChatGPT and ask it, say, hi, I'm a realtor, or I'm a nurse, or I'm an attorney, or whatever. Give it some specific information and tell it what you do, and ask it, what are 15 ways that you could help me work smarter and not harder, and see what it gives you.
Oh, I love it. Start working smarter, not harder. I think that is just the thing to end on as we approach the holiday season. Don't overdo it. Ask it for a couple of recipes. Don't experiment on holiday.
Mm-mm.
Don't
Now
do
that
that
is one thing I have not experimented with on ChatGPT. I'm funny about my food. I don't know about these recipes. It's given, but
because we may not have contributed enough just yet. So y'all
it
add
may
your
not be
recipes
good
in.
mama approved.
Yeah. Add your dressing, not your stuffing, all those kind of things. Add those in there. So ChatGPT will be ready for next Thanksgiving. So it might
Yes.
not be ready today, but it'll be ready next Thanksgiving if y'all get to work. So get to work.
Well, thank you
So
for having
thank
me,
you, Meredith.
Rosalind.
This was so great. Such great information. I'm signing up for the free tool because I'm like, I'm going to learn something. I'm going to be better. I'm not going to leave 2023 with everybody else knowing more about AI than I do. So I'm signing up for the free tool. I hope y'all sign up. I have already joined the Facebook group too. So hit the link, join that Facebook group as well. And I want to thank you again. Thank you all for joining us tonight. And until next time, have a wonderful evening.
Good night, everybody.